Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Hanging Out with Nolan Hong. And it's not just another episode, it is the episode. We have finally hit it, folks. Episode 200. And I promised you a very, very special guest for episode 200. And it doesn't get any more special than this. You, of course, know her from all of her work in Hollywood. She's been in movies. She's been in Lilo and Stitch. She's a two-time Grammy Award winner. And, of course, her unforgettable role in Wayne's World 1 and 2. Ladies and gentlemen, the incomparable Miss Tia Carrere. Hey, Tia!
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, Tia, I am so honored to have you on here. Happy Aloha Friday.
Happy Aloha Friday.
So I need to ask you a question. This is my first burning question, and it's a tough one. So brace yourself. Right before we jumped on here, I had a heated discussion with my family downstairs, and I wanted to ask you, how do you pour your cereal? Do you put cereal first and milk after, or milk first and then cereal after?
Oh my gosh. Who would put cereal first, then milk after? It's gonna get all soggy. See,
Oh no!
no, this is how anal I am. I pour milk and then I pour a little bit of cereal. So it's still crunchy. Then I pour a little more cereal. So it's still
Oh my
crunchy. I'm
gosh!
super intense with my cereal game. My cereal game serious.
I knew you'd be the right person and the voice of authority on this subject, but I'm really disappointed that you are on the other side of the argument from me.
Oh no, I'm sorry. You're a
No.
dude at the end of the day, and dudes like do stuff a little more freely. Girls are more like the cup has to be on this side, and then the tumblers have to be on this side, and the coffee cups go over there. I mean, generally speaking, the milk goes in first, and then a little bit of cereal at the time, so you can make sure that it's still crunchy. Your mouth feel is consistent.
Yeah. See, I could have expected, like, yeah, you would do the cereal first and then milk, but I would never have thought to expect that you would do little bits of dry cereal at a time to keep it
Yeah.
crunchy the whole way through. That I can appreciate. That one I respect. That makes sense
Well,
because,
welcome
you
to
know,
my neuroses.
yeah. I mean, going on that, is that kind of typically how you are, not just in serial game, but just in life? Is that kind of like how you are? Like you really need to be, you know,
I'm very
particular about things? Yeah.
regimented, disciplined. I mean, I think maybe it's a byproduct of the fact that my business, there's
Mm.
very little control over. So in my life, I like to have things a certain way. My daughter says I look like I'm always staging my home for an open house. But it's like I just like things just so, and just my mind clear, things uncluttered, off of
Yeah.
countertops, that kind of thing.
That's so interesting that you said that, in the industry that you're in, you have no control. So in your regular life, you need control. Was that something when you went into the entertainment business early on? Was that something difficult for you, like not having that control, being that that's such a part of your life? Or did you kind of grow into this needing, to have control because of, as a result of the type of business you're in?
I think when I was discovered in Waikiki Food Pantry when I was 17.
Wait,
I was
what?
still in high school. That's how I got my
I
first
didn't know
job.
that. Holy
Yeah,
smokes.
yeah. So every time I would go home, I'd go and visit the Waikiki Food Pantry like a touchstone. And I'd also go to
Wow.
Kalihi to remind me where I came from. It's just sort of this thing that I would do. But now it's no longer there. I guess they're building some condos with
Yeah.
some, retail space downstairs. I was like, no, it's
Are you talking
gone.
about the one on Kuhio Avenue?
Yep.
Oh,
Waikiki Food
wow.
Pantry. I went in there and I was shopping for, like, I had just shot a photo shoot for crazy shirts. So I had a haku
Okay.
headband and I had the t-shirt and then I had a bikini walking around the grocery store, like,
Which
you
is
know,
appropriate in
with
Waikiki. Yeah.
yeah, but with full makeup, like, heavy
Okay.
duty like makeup. And a producer's mother and father approached me and said, "Darling, you're gorgeous. You should be my son's movie." I'm like, what? I never acted before in my life. And they're like, no, they're looking for the female lead. And I guess the producer wanted one girl, the director wanted one girl. I mean, the director, yeah. And then they couldn't decide. And then the mother of the producer saw me, the mother and father, and they're like, you're perfect for the female lead. And so that's how I got Aloha Summer in 1984. And I
Wow.
got my Screen Actors Guild card. And right after I finished the movie, I moved to LA.
Holy smoke. So,
Yeah.
when so my family used to own a Chinese restaurant in Waikiki on Lure Street. And one of my mom's favorite stories is that this alleged movie producer came into the restaurant and like really sold us on like, hey, we want to, shoot a major movie here and all this stuff like that. Turned out he was making it up, trying to get free food. But when you had that couple approach you, did you have any kind of thought of like, is this legit? Or like, did you have any second guesses as to, because that's not a normal type of thing I would think that people would expect as far as like people just to be picked up off of the street, pretty much.
Well, in Hawaii, much
Yeah,
less.
right.
But I think it was because it was a husband and wife. They had just got off the plane. She was like, I want to say her hair was in a chignon with like pearl earrings and like I don't know if it was a fur coat or it had like
Oh
fur. So,
wow.
like they look
Like
money.
they
You know
looked
what I
apart.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and it was sort of like, well, I don't know if you ever thought, she had this air about her that was very
Oh.
authoritative, and it wasn't like, hey, you're
Yeah.
beautiful, I got a movie for you. No, that, yeah, that would have been
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
But this was a very well dressed, very well spoken, classy
Oh,
couple.
okay.
And then they said the casting director was Caro Jones, who did the Karate Kid films, and I was like,
Mm.
okay. So I took the casting director's number. She said, call her and they'll audition you and see if it works. I'm like, okay, I've never done any acting in my life, but I sang at the Waikiki Shell. Daniel Ho and I had who I've been doing my records with, who I got those Grammys with behind me,
Yeah.
Daniel Ho from St. Louis, and I was at Sacred Hearts, but that's another story that we'll get into later.
Yeah.
This is like all part of this crazy story of my life, how I got here to Hollywood.
Yeah.
But so then I called her, and the fact that this was a real legit casting director of stature also, it was a no-brainer. I mean, of course, but the question was if I could pull it off, and I did miraculously.
So did you do anything to prepare, being that you've never acted before? Was there anything you could do?
I mean, it was about a shy local Hawaiian girl that fell in love with a Caucasian Casanova from the mainland. So it wasn't too far from my own story. So I was very soft-spoken and shy and, just very quiet. And, so it was sort of like Lonnie in the film. I mean, I'm very different now. I'm
Mm.
like, hey, no do that. I'll beat you up. I'm from Kalihi, like this. So, I mean, it's just more of that came out. But back then I was at the beginning of my journey, and I was very shy and very reserved. And I think that came across well for the part. It's the right part, meeting the right person at the right time.
Yeah. Did you feel after you did the audition confident that it went well, or how did you feel when you finished with it?
Um, I mean, I was getting great positive response from the casting director,
Oh
so that's
wow.
all I could go off of. I mean,
Yeah.
she just said, okay, so well, actually, I think I read for the director also, and it was the funeral scene, which is Andy Bumatai was my brother, and I want to
Aw.
do his podcast too. I gotta check out Andy. He's so
Yeah.
sweet. He was really sweet to me. I saw him up here in LA once too. Um, but I had to cry because my boyfriend had gotten into a fight with my brother, Andy Bumatai. And Andy Bumatai, this is not going to be a spoiler because you're never going to find the movie. He went off the cliff and died. So it was
Oh
a
my
funeral. It was
gosh.
like very, very Romeo and Juliet,
Yeah.
crying. So I was like, I know, I know, but it is too late for regrets. It's like
Wow.
one of those sad things. But then
Yeah.
I had always, I don't know, in school I went to Sacred Hearts and I would play and make pretend I could cry. I don't know, it was just one of these stupid things that I would do.
Oh my
So I'd just
gosh.
sit and I'd stare, and my eyes would dry up, and then my eyes would start to tear, and then I'd act like I was crying. So it was just one of those funny playground games that I would play that came
Yeah.
into came at handy in this case.
How did you, was it like a physical thing or a memory that was enabled you to produce those tears?
I was always kind of like a solitary, sad kid through high school. So
Oh.
probably that, but also knowing how to, dry my eyes from staring, so
Oh.
it creates that, like some people, you do this menthol and you blow it in
Mhm.
the eyes and it makes their eyes tear up. But I just got to it on my own. So they're
Oh
like,
wow.
okay, great. You can cry on cue.
That's crazy. It's like this journey, it feels like everything was laid out for this incredible journey, which eventually ended up to where you're at now, which is so crazy. I mean,
Yeah, it was a perfect storm. I mean, I
yeah.
really was. primed to be able to pull that off in that time. Like my
Hmm.
family had moved to Samoa. So I was living
Oh,
with my grandma by myself in Hawaii, like probably from 14 till 17, 14 till 16 and a half, something like that. So it was like
wow.
very lonely time. And, so I had a lot of, like, that's why I had time to come up with stupid games like make yourself cry.
Mm. And did you have siblings too, or was it just you?
I had two younger sisters. Yeah. So they
And did
moved
they stay with
away.
you too? Oh, they moved
No,
with
they
your
all moved
parents?
away.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Because I was in seventh grade, and there was question about whether the schooling in Samoa would be up to par because I was going to go into high school, and they
Yeah.
wanted to keep the continuity because I was in Sacred Heart since first grade,
Mm,
and just to keep that all the way through. But
yeah.
unfortunately, life blew up and went into a million pieces, and it never came back again. So it was, it's a good thing that I had a place to put these feelings,
Yeah.
and also um, my grades were not, I mean, I was like B plus A minus student.
Hey, that's
Um,
pretty good.
but that's not enough to get a scholarship, full ride
Oh,
scholarship. And my parents, didn't have the money, and certainly not after everything that happened in the family, to put me in, a college. So life took me on this path, this amazing journey that, thank God for this path in so many
yeah.
ways. I'm so grateful.
When this situation came about where the casting director reached out to you and offered you this audition, did you share it with anybody? And did anyone, what were people's, if you did, what were their reactions? Like, did you share it with your grandma?
Yeah, her whole thing was just finish school. Okay. I was like, of course I'm going to finish school. It didn't occur to me not to finish school, but I guess people wouldn't, maybe,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm going to go to Hollywood. I'm going to be a big
Yep.
star. But I'm like, no, I'm so close to graduating. Of course I'm going to finish school. And it was only
Yeah.
like another month or two. I think they saw me in May, something like that. It's the beginning of May. And then I
Oh, so
finished
you're
the end of
right at the
June.
end.
I was right at
Wow.
the end of high school. So really it was like serendipity, great blessing, fortuitous meeting, because if I had gone into the store 5 minutes later, come out
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes sooner, I wouldn't have bumped into these people that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really something you have to think about, the way life, unfolds, and that
Yeah.
there is a greater hand.
Well, you were saying that you were coming from a modeling gig. So was that something that you were thinking of doing, moving forward into your adult life, or was it just something that you did as a side gig kind of thing?
Just this, I mean, I was, working for Liberty House and doing the newspaper stuff, and the occasional Japanese commercial that came into town. It was great money, but I didn't
Mm,
know, to what end. I think maybe, I mean, I never envisioned that I was going to be an actress. That's for sure. I mean, I never read the classics. I never took acting class until I moved to LA.
mm-hmm.
Um, so it was I guess maybe the furthest I would have thought I would go is singing in a hotel bar in Waikiki, because that's where I was singing,
Yeah.
and do the occasional acting, I mean, modeling job.
Well, it's interesting that you're saying that, when you were younger, that you're kind of, in your emotions and on your own and stuff. And it's interesting that you went into your life evolved into you being so on stage for everyone to see and being out there. Did that feel like that? Did it make sense to you, as you're going through that, like, this is what I've been wanting? Or was it like, wow, this is completely, out of my comfort zone? Like did you have to do a lot of work to get to that point where you're okay with being in such a public figure position?
I have a theory about people that get into show business. I
Oh,
think
what is
there's
that?
some sort of fracture or some sort
Mm-hmm.
of um, uh, discomfort that they have to come out of themselves to
Ah,
feel.
yeah, yeah.
In my case, I felt invisible. I felt isolated. I didn't feel part of a family anymore. And in some ways, when you enter a project, a movie, television show, you jump together with this whole band of merry characters, and it's some sort of delightful, dysfunctional, amazing, crazy family for a period of time, and
Yeah.
then it ends, and then you go seeking that again. It's so in my DNA and my need. I almost can't imagine not being able to do that. I mean, that's why I can see Betty White wanting to continue acting till she's 100 years old, because if it expresses a deep core need in you,
Mm.
there's no plan B. There never has been for me. There's never any question that you're on the right path because it heals you in some way, you know? Drinking
Yeah.
water from my
I love
water
that.
bottle.
Look at your
Yeah,
water
look,
bottle.
all faded.
Yeah.
Oh,
But it's
look,
got
it's all like
everything. It's all
Kamehameha.
Hawaii'd
Oh,
out.
yeah.
That's so awesome. As
I
and
never
what you
lose it anymore. I used to lose these all the time. Then I
how
put
come?
stickers on
Oh, because of
because it would just like disappear in the gym. It's like because it's all plain black or plain
yeah,
silver.
yeah.
I'm like, where is it? I can't see it. Leave it behind. But now it's like my pride and joy. OK Farms on the Big Island.
Wow. And going back to what you were talking about, this experience of, getting together and feeling that, togetherness and that experience and then wanting to seek it after. On the contrary, is it also difficult because you get this bond and then it's done? And is it hard to
Yeah, it's
deal with that
hard.
kind of like a loss, right?
Especially after my series, I shot 66 episodes all over the world from Canada, Spain, England, France, and we were traveling like this merry band of minstrels, and you go to a new city, another new country, and you're setting up your apartments, and you're the only ones that know each other in a country that doesn't speak your language. So we were very bonded. So when that
Yeah.
ended, I think. Certainly from my makeup artist, Anya, she said she definitely went into a depression. Like,
Yeah.
what's going to be next? And it was an amazing experience. And it was for me also, it was this time of um, just reassessing like who you are outside of the structure of this show and part of this,
Mm.
family. But that's when I started my own family and I knew that I wanted to. And so I just moved up to the mountains and had, we had a family and just like unplugged from Hollywood. I still did stuff like I did Dancing with the Stars
Hmm.
when my daughter was 5 weeks old. And
Wow. Wait.
I joke it's because my agent was worried I wasn't going to lose the baby weight after I had my daughter. um,
That is
but so
so intense though, like hardcore that 5 weeks after giving birth and you're out
yep,
there dancing it up.
yeah,
Was that really difficult just from a physical standpoint? Because I gotta imagine even without having a child, it's a
yeah.
taxing physical activity, huh?
It was like having the extra weight on my body, having the body coming back together again, and wearing high heel shoes.
Oh my
I wouldn't
gosh.
recommend it to a new mom. I mean, it was really hard. It was intense. So, but I don't know. I dropped like 75 pounds or something like that. It was
Holy
crazy.
smokes.
Yeah,
Really?
I know.
Wow.
It's not.
Going back to, the difficulty of having something so special, when you're doing projects or shows and then losing or ending them.
Mhm.
Because I can imagine that it's not only difficult to go from, hey, this is what I love and this is the family that I've created, that I'm working with, and then it's gone. But do you also find it difficult to still keep in touch with those? Because I mean, I imagine while you're doing the project, you feel like, oh, this is my like forever friends and family. But in the industry you're in, it's moving so fast and there's so many other things. Like, is it possible to still keep these relationships, or is it
Oh
kind of
yeah. If you really have a connection, I mean, like I'm friends with Anya, my makeup artist from that show, and my friend Tanya. She's my makeup artist on True Lies and High School High and another movie and some commercials. So like you're talking all the time and you're sharing yourself, and
yeah?
sometimes you really make a great connection. And they're still my friends. My friend Patty, she was one of the producers on True Lies. John Lovitz, who I worked with, and it's like some people that I don't know, you just keep talking to them 10, 15, 20 years later, and um, that's the history. And the great thing about, like, people always say like LA has no history, but the history is
Yeah.
in the friendships and the connections that you maintain over time, and the
Yeah.
goodwill. It's nice to
That
see people, especially after COVID. I ran into
mm,
people at this Michael Bay premiere. I haven't seen them in years, and it was so wonderful. I'm like, thank God you made it through like I did, and we get to hug again and say hello.
do you feel like that maybe, one of the few positives out of COVID is that it helped people as a whole, in your industry, be more appreciative of each other? Because I can imagine that people can get a little calloused, like, I see you guys all the
Hmm.
time and we're at these events, and to come back to it now after not being able to for so long, has it kind of reinvigorated this appreciation for each other, but also these events where you guys can, get to see each other?
Yeah, I think it definitely, I mean, it just shook us to the core. Nobody could work, I mean, including
Mm,
us. Uh, at the tail end, I was able to do a couple of projects, but I think it forced everyone, not just the show business, to assess what truly brings you joy and what people you truly value, and other stuff fell away, and I think
yeah.
the people, and I've heard stories where people that became closer during COVID because they were each other's bubble and they were locked down for 2 years, and other people that it just blew up and they got divorced and they couldn't stand each other or whatever, because
Yeah.
it was so intense. They were used to having a spouse that was always gone, and now they were always home, and they realized they just don't get along. And it's interesting. In the show business aspect, I think it made us grateful, for the simple things, and
Mm,
that
yeah.
the glamour and glitz and vying for position, it's like a lot of pole position, like, oh, climbing and climbing, and why'd they get that, and I'm going to get this or whatever, and it's sort of like, wow, I'm so glad to see you. Are you well? Is your
Yeah.
family well? That's awesome. It's been a really tough time, huh? And I think
Yeah.
it humanized us. I think, I mean, a lot of us, I mean, maybe other people didn't grow. I can only speak for myself, but I think
Right.
it made it more clear that it's about the personal connection than the facade of
Yeah.
some sort of grandiose achievement. And I'm just glad to be surviving. Any day I'm vertical and not horizontal, you know, under this
Right.
earth is a win, considering what we went through.
That's awesome. I love hearing that because, from all of us on the outside, you hear like how, Hollywood is so fake and da da da. But
Cutthroat, blah, blah,
yeah.
blah.
And
And
to
it
hear
can be. It
this,
can be.
yeah.
There's lots of liars and cheats and thieves. Don't get me wrong. And I shook hands with a number of them, but it's uh, it's also made of people like you and me and other good people that I associate with, that know that they were plucked from obscurity and they've been given a
Mm,
great gift of this
yeah.
road where you can affect people. And I think that they take that seriously, like I do, and you try to do your best and you try to, but you don't, also by the same time, you protect what's yours and personal, while you try to do good work out in the world.
Yeah.
Because that's what sustains you. That's a thing. It's like, if you don't have an outside life,
Hmm.
your own personal life that is private, and you can count on these people, it's easy to get blown by the winds and whims and fancies of
Mm,
Hollywood, because your stock goes up and down. You're the
yeah.
it girl today, you're in the number one box office today, and then next month it's not number one anymore, and then 5 years and 10 years down the road it's like, hey, you kind of look like that person from that movie. And if you don't have the solid foundation, that can really rock you to your core, as we've seen
Yeah.
by all the carnage over the years.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you explained that because that's something that I always wonder about and think about. And I never thought that, something as simple as having that, base and grounding yourself in family and having a separate life is the
Hmm.
key to it, which makes total sense. It's such a simple concept, but, when you're looking at it, it's just like, oh, how could you handle such, this up and down kind of
Hmm.
industry
It
and
messes with your head because
yeah,
you're the product.
right.
So how do you not take it personally when they say, no, I don't want you, I want them?
Yeah.
um but I guess maybe I've been able to see that it's something as tiny as, do they want paprika or do they want cumin in the stew today? And
Right,
it's
right.
that minuscule little thing. And what does it help to get angry or resentful, or I was better than, them for this part or that, everybody that stays on their path and is true to themselves, you're going to get work. You just have to trust that you continue to grow and do your best, and another job is going to come your way, or you're going to create it for yourself. And I think having the perspective of a comfortable arm's distance association with Hollywood really helps with that perspective,
Yeah.
um, where you don't derive your own personal uh, esteem, your own value in yourself with the marketplace value out
Hmm.
in Hollywood, because that's absolutely destructive.
How early in your career did you make this understand or this figure this out? Because I gotta imagine that you, hearing how you describe this, you had to have kind of gone through the
Oh
trials and
yeah,
tribulations in the beginning, right?
definitely. Well, it was, sorry,
No,
stay
sorry.
hydrated. It's dry here in the desert. I miss
Oh,
the moisture in Hawaii.
are you in
I'm in
California?
LA. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm in
okay.
LA, but it's
Yeah.
dry. I drink like two of these a day. I
Oh my
always stay
gosh.
hydrated. Yeah, I love water. That's one thing I'm grateful that I love water because
That must
um
be one of the keys to the you're still staying as beautiful and as young looking as you have, is that my mom always says like the key to beauty is and health is drinking lots of water. And every day she talks to me, she always goes like, "Did you drink your water? How much water
I
did
know
you
I
drink?"
tell that to my daughter. I'm like, here, have what? I'm always filling her bottle. Here, drink your water. I don't want water. Just drink some.
Yeah.
That's it's diet, exercise, get out in nature, drink water, definitely for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my mom will
Um.
love you now.
Oh, I hope I get to meet her
Yeah, she was
when I
really
come back
excited when I
home.
heard. Do you get to come back home often? It sounds like you're so busy.
Not often, but I was just on the Big Island, doing a movie there and visiting my sister in Holualoa. She has
Mm.
a food truck over there, the Green
Oh,
Fale,
cool.
because her wife is a chef. She went to like
Wow.
Le Cordon Bleu and stuff. So it's like vegan food, but super, super like, high quality, really, really
Wow.
great stuff. Yeah. So if you're over there, you can drive through the center of Holualoa up on Kona
Hmm.
side. There's a silver like airstream and it has a green Fale roof on there.
What are some of the favorite dishes that people should look out for when they go and visit there?
I'm all about that vegan burger. Oh,
Oh,
with
wow.
like this aioli sauce on top, extra sauce. That's my inside. Extra sauce. So you can dip. It's inside but dip too.
Oh,
And
that
then
sounds
you
delicious.
then you have some for the French fries too.
That's a pro tip right there.
Yeah. But let's see. What were you saying?
Well,
Yes,
before.
I believe it was because I hit so young,
Mhm.
in you know Wayne's World, and that was like a global phenomenon. And I was what 23 years old, something like that.
Wow.
And it really, I mean, traveling the world and, getting clothes from, Versace and wherever I went, it's like everything was free. And then over the course of years of feeling that, oh, well, it's not, I had True Lies and Rising Sun. So it took a little while. I had a lot of work in a period of time. But then it was sort of like, well, you're 30 something. And I mean, you're only 30 something. Let's put it like 30 is young.
Yeah.
But then you feel like all these amazing experiences were behind you. So I was like, why do I feel so bummed out? What's going on? And, how come I'm not, on top doing that stuff that I was doing before? But it's just the ebbs and flows of the business and the luck of the draw with projects that hit or don't hit, or the right management. So any number of things. So there's so many different things that go into it. And I started going to therapy,
Mm.
and that woman really opened up my mind and helped me realize, well, of course you're bummed out. Of course, you're depressed because XYZ in your life is not right. And
Yeah.
of course, you feel this discomfort because it doesn't fit you. And so, over the course of time of really just looking and being truthful, it's like, you know what? I'm grateful that I put the time and energy into this process of
Hmm.
excavating and uncovering, because um, that's why I'm able to do it. What is it now? Almost 40 years later. And
Wow.
my head is screwed on straight. And all these people along the way that get lost to drugs and alcohol, and are no longer with us even. And
Yeah.
it's just like it's a really tough town on your mind, I think, first and foremost. And
Yeah.
for women, it's hard because there's a lot of ageism and sexism that I think we're coming through now. But for a good long time, it's like that's it. You're not you know, your yesterday's news, done. On to the next, piece of disposable, you know,
Hmm.
material.
Well, I gotta imagine too that if what you had said earlier is accurate, which I think it is that a lot of the people that go into the entertainment industry have something deep seated in their
Hmm.
childhood and such that if you don't have that support with something like therapy or that foundation with a strong family, that it can be so difficult, right, to manage a life in this industry when you have
Yeah.
that hurt and pain, right?
Yeah. And then to add another layer, like especially child actors,
Hmm.
because they're not even fully formed human beings. I mean, I was 17 when I got into it. How much more so if you're a little kid and then all of a sudden you're supporting your whole family and
Yeah.
everybody always says yes to you, and then it's like, but you're never really a kid. It's like it really it could really mess a kid up. And so we've seen a lot of these kid actors that have a difficult time. We're in
Yeah.
really deep conversations. I feel like we should be like having fun and throwing
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
confetti for your 200th episode, but you know what? This is a deep insight into Hollywood. So this is like
Yeah.
a master class on how to survive and thrive in a really, really difficult and superficial world, I guess.
Well, and what I really enjoy from this too is that, even people who aren't in, you know, Hollywood or in the entertainment industry still can draw similarities to like what you're describing as far as making sure that you have that understanding that you're not defined by what you do or what others
Yeah.
say, right? Because that's
I think
something that,
even CEOs could
yeah,
have, that sort of disconnect. And,
yeah.
that's why their family that's grounding to them, that, the good, the bad, the ugly, you don't have to be bulletproof and amazing all the time. Uh, it, it would be impossible to maintain that facade of bravado all the time, 24/7,
Yeah.
365. So you need a safe place to just curl up in a ball and, I go, oh my gosh, please, just let me be.
Yeah. And okay, I keep looking at your Grammys over your shoulder and I want to get to talking about your music career and how you got started with Daniel. But one last question before
Mhm.
I transition to that part of your career in life is it seems like there's been kind of a huge surge of like Asian American actors and projects and such. And I just was curious about your take on it because when you started your career, you were like
There
one
was
of
no
maybe what
one.
like two people, right? And
Yeah,
and now
yeah.
it's like so there's full length movies and Marvel movies and stuff around Asian characters and such. Um, and so do you feel either a like hey, this is great timing for it, or are you kind of the type that was like, man, I wish this was how it was when I started out? What's your thought on how this has evolved and where we're at?
Well, I mean, I think for me, it played in my favor that there were precious few people that I would see in an
Mm,
audition when I
yeah.
would go in. It's like literally between me and maybe two or three other people, if that,
Yeah.
for any given role. Now, there were Asian girls getting into the business because they see that there's a lot of work. So it's, for me, it worked out great because I was
Hmm.
at the right place at the right time to get Wayne's World. And there weren't many people that could sing and act and, do some martial arts, on camera and the accent and everything. So I was perfectly primed for that. Um, but yeah, I mean, of course, it would be great to have been a Marvel character. But I also got to do my, Relic Hunter TV series all over the world for 3 years. Um, and we all get what we're supposed to get at the end of the day. I think
Mm, yeah.
I'm so happy to see, and I like to think, and I've been told this by people that like, thank you for breaking the doors open and being
Yeah.
you, because I feel like it opened doors for other projects because Wayne's World with a an Asian female in the lead could be so popular and make so much money, so that another film could be made with a character like me, and so on and so forth. And it's been a slow evolution. I mean, like when I was on General Hospital, they wouldn't have an interracial relationship with me and any other character,
Oh,
because it
wow.
was, that's the life's blood of soaps, is like people, jumping bedrooms and like, creating the intrigue. And that's, so it was me and the Asian doctor. And when we left the show, we were leaving to go to help our people in the old country. And where we were was the Asian quarter. It was just, there was never any mention of like what ethnicity, sort of like the Asian quarters. Kind of funny when you think about how far we've come since then.
Yeah. I was just recently watching the old Dragon, the Bruce Lee story movie, which is
Mm-hmm.
one of my all-time
Okay,
favorites.
Sen.
And yeah, and when I watched it back in the 90s, it wasn't as shocking as far as like the segregation and the
Mm-hmm.
racism. And now watching it from the lens of where we're at now, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, that interracial relationships with, an
It was
Asian
so
man. And
taboo.
yeah, it's so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, uh, I think that the other thing that was really cool that were able to break open doors for us here in Hawaii is not only seeing an Asian female lead, but someone from Hawaii that was very proud of and open about being from Hawaii. We
Yeah,
feel
why
like nobody
wouldn't I
knows
be?
we're here, right? And so I remember when Wayne's World came out, I was just so excited that it's like someone from Hawaii made it. Like, our,
Mhm.
our island is gonna get like all the recognition finally, and people are gonna know we exist. And how cool was that? That like, did you have? I imagine you had a bunch of a quote unquote cousins popping up out of nowhere, like, hey, Tia Carrere, that's my cousin. Did you have that kind of experience?
Well, I know people who had come up to me with different events, like, "Is your cousin so and so, or you have a sister?" And sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes the answer is no. And you couldn't check it on Facebook or
Yeah.
Instagram back in the day. Like, is that really, So that's fine. I mean, I love to be uh, embraced by whoever, and that it made them feel special to being from Hawaii, and that I'm in Hawaii, slugging it out in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I just, I can't believe the how lucky I was, and hardworking too, because
Yeah.
I think that's part of being local, being Asian. My grandma's, my maternal grandma's family were in one plantation house,
Oh, wow.
working, and then the older ones help the younger ones, and it instilled a great work ethic for me, and that came in handy in Hollywood. That when you have to keep going even against all rhyme or reason, just keep putting one foot in front of the other and maintain your schedule, even though um, uh, there's no guarantee,
Mm-hmm.
but you just keep putting in the work and trust in the process. And I'm glad that I was instilled with that. That also grounds me, being from Hawaii, and that hardworking stock.
Yeah. Was your grandmother able to, see you as your career got big and doing Wayne's World and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah, that's one thing I'm glad, because she's no longer with us. But she did Emmy Tomimbong show with me. I
Oh, no
think,
way.
yeah, when I went home one year, I don't know if she did it twice. I think only once. She did the show, and when I did Lilo and Stitch, there was a TV special we did, um, and I I got to sing Aloha Oi with my grandma under
Oh,
the banyan
cool.
tree at Waimea Canyon Park, over there. So it was really nice to share that with her.
Was she a singer as well? Is that
Oh yeah, she had an amazing story, and I thought, wow, this would be a really cool story for a movie. But it's an epic, sweeping, period piece. But she and her sisters, I guess, used to sing on the radio in Hilo, and then a uh, a military guy came from New York, and uh, they met and became friends and whatever. And then he got stationed far, far away, and then they my grandma and my grandpa. I had my mom and my aunt, and this guy had his family, and then he found my grandma back in Hawaii. He went back to Hilo, I want to say when they're like 70 years old, to
Wow.
look for her. How trippy is that story?
Dang.
Um, uh, to go and find her, and then find out that she was in Oahu. And so I got to meet this guy, Mr. Caller. And but unfortunately, her family's in Hawaii and his family's in, Syracuse, New York, and they never pulled it together. But it was kind of cool. She and her sisters would do 3-part harmony on the radio, and in Hilo, and this military guy befriended her. It's like just a really cool story from that
Yeah.
era. I'm glad she told me that story. You know.
Yeah. Wow. And so was music kind of a big part of your upbringing because of her?
Yeah,
Yeah.
every family get together was like a potluck, and everybody would get up, play ukulele, guitar, sing, dance a hula, whatever. Um, so it was very much like a family uh, talent show,
Wow.
from my Uncle Benny's house, where he would have Gabe Baltazar and all these jazz players of the day get up and play. My cousin Kelly, who'd play, and we sang together once up there, and uh, even family reunions, stuff like that. We are always like very musical.
So is that what kind of got you into performing in Waikiki, and how did you befriend Daniel Ho and get that relationship going?
Well, I was at Sacred Hearts Academy, at all girls, and he was at St. Louis, all boys, and they needed a singer for their jazz orchestra. And so somebody had told him, oh, there's this girl at Sacred Hearts, she's got a good voice. So I went and I auditioned for the jazz orchestra, and I got the gig. So we performed at the Officers Club, and Daniel was doing the charts for the whole orchestra already at
Oh
like
my gosh.
age 14. He and
Wow.
Akamai, that one. Yeah, he's like genius. He can play everything. He can produce everything. And he was playing bass at the time, and also piano. And so then I said, hey, I want to enter Brown Bags to Stardom.
Yeah, I was gonna
And
ask, did you guys do
so
brown
he
bags?
played, yeah, so he played piano. And so he and I performed at Waikiki Shell, I think when I was like 15, 16 years old.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember what song you guys performed?
I think it was a New York medley, which is hilarious. I know, bizarre. It's like dun dun dun. Yeah, stop spreading the news. I know, but
Wow.
it was like a medley thing, and just. But I remember getting in trouble with Sacred
What?
Hearts
Why?
because I got called into the office because some of the alumni didn't like our leotards that we were wearing. They thought they were a little
Oh.
indecent because it was like like a regular. It wasn't even a high cut, like now the high cut, but it was
Yeah.
like at the hips, and then we had the fishnet stockings and the jazz shoes and the high kicks and the top hat and the bow tie. They were like rented costumes. It wasn't like I went to trashy lingerie to go pick it up or
Yeah.
something. But I got in trouble for that. It was kind of hilarious.
Well, if they could only see the costumes now, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
So I assume you guys won the competition?
We just won for our school and just represented at the shell, but I forget who won. Um, Mental block because we didn't win.
Yeah,
But
I was gonna say,
we have to go back and
where are
look.
their Grammys?
Yeah, they might have. They might have. There's some people in there that ended up continuing music. Oh gosh, I forget. Anyway, but I have to look at I have the double album. There was a record, like a big record that said Brown Bags to Stardom, and had a picture of Sacred Hearts auditorium, because we have a beautiful auditorium, small
Wow.
auditorium, but it has a hand painted thing around the frame of the stage. I haven't been there in years, so I don't know if they still have it. I hope they do. But that was yeah, that was a Brown Bags to Stardom double album. I still
Wow,
have
so
it somewhere.
they let you guys, so they had you guys record your songs and put it on the album? Is that what the album was of? All
Yeah,
your performances?
yeah.
Wow. That's got to
That
be
was
probably the
one of them.
coolest
The
thing.
second one they didn't, because I was in Brown Bags twice. So the
Mm.
first one I had an album. The second one they didn't, I don't think.
That was my when I was in high school, like my fantasy was to be a singer and be win brown bags to stardom and like be on a CD or an album, and so seeing people my age on the album that actually could sing was just like they were huge like idols to me. So to hear that you
What
got that
school?
experience. Oh,
What?
we don't talk about what school I went to. No, I'm just kidding.
What?
I went to Punahou.
Dude, man, I
I
wish I
know.
could have gone to Punahou. I mean,
Yeah.
if my whole life hadn't blown up, they're like, "Oh, where do you want to go?" I'm like, "I want to go to Punahou," because it was like, the best school and all that, but was not
Y-
to be.
Yeah. Well, you said that you got, A's and B pluses and stuff like that. I had more like C minuses and D's. So
It was hard, huh?
yeah,
So
well, and
it's
I
a
think
hard,
just I think school
demanding
just
school.
isn't my thing. Like even now, like in a professional world, if it requires like studying and reading, I just
Hmm.
I learn better from doing, and I also feel like there
Well,
might be something.
that's
Yeah,
project-based learning, and they do that now.
yeah,
That's like the new technology of how kids learn. They'll give them a practical project to do,
mm-hmm,
at work as a team, and then present in class. So that's not so far-fetched.
yeah. Well,
And you
I
remember
know.
stuff more that way.
Yeah, and I know that I always think, well, I wish it was like that when I was going to school, but like you said, in everything happens for a reason and it's all part of your journey. And if it had been different for me, who knows what would have that how that would have taken my life, and I wouldn't be where I am today,
You
which I'm
wouldn't
very
be
grateful
here.
for. Right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, it all works out like you said. Now
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you said we're running close on time, so I want to be respectful of that. But
Wow, I know. It seems like we have so much to cover. It's just,
I
I mean,
know.
but it's hard to cover 40 years. I should stop saying that. It just ages me. But I started out young. Um, uh, it's just been a grand journey, and I'm so glad to be able to share it with somebody from Hawaii and share it with
Yeah.
your viewers in Hawaii, because it can happen for you. And if you can't imagine yourself doing anything else but this, you have to pursue it, because it
Yeah.
feeds your soul. It's not just commerce, it's not just fame and fortune, because if you're doing it for that, forget about it. That will
Right.
break you. But if you're doing it because it fulfills a deep need in you and you can't imagine doing anything else, then you owe it to yourself to try.
Well, it would be maybe one day our paths will cross again and we'll get to work on something together, and that would be uh it'll be well, a dream for me.
Absolutely.
You'd be like, "Oh, okay." But for me it'd be awesome. um but
Write something where I can sing in a
yeah.
in a karaoke bar in Hawaii.
Oh,
And
that would be such a fun scene. I would love that. Okay, we'll make that happen. Let's put that out into the universe.
yeah,
Anybody
like a small
listening,
indie movie in
yeah,
Hawaii,
please
in
bankroll
Kalihi.
that. Jubilee nightclub in Kalihi.
Yeah, it's like,
uh
we could
um
do it. We got
yes.
something here.
Okay. I know somebody will hear this and be like, "Oh, this is
Manifest,
what
manifest.
I've already written that."
I can send
I
it to you and you can send it to me, and
yeah.
then we'll
Uh,
commiserate and have our people talk to each other.
yes.
Kidding.
This is going to happen. I hope you're ready. Don't turn me down when I present it to you.
No, are you kidding me? If it's in Hawaii, the answer is yes. If I'm singing, then the answer is yes. It's like, come on.
Well, like you said, like there's so much we haven't touched on, and I hope someday we can get back together and maybe have a part two to this, because I'm sure people are like, how come you didn't talk about Wayne's World or being on The Apprentice and all these things, and
I know.
one day
Well,
we'll
then we
get
can
to
get
that.
into
Yeah,
we can get to all the, maybe for your 300th
yeah,
episode. Or
that
we
would
can
be
do a
awesome.
part two, maybe closer to when my movie Easter Sunday comes out. That's coming out
Yeah,
August 5th. So maybe later on around that time, we can do another bump talking about only the projects that,
yeah.
that I've done over the years.
Well, that's what I was gonna, before we say a hui ho to you, I wanted to check in with you and what's happening. So yes, you have this movie coming out in August. Is there anything you could explain as to like what the movie might be about, or where people will be able to watch it?
Well, it's a Universal picture, so it's going to be in the movie theaters.
Ooh.
It's a movie called Easter Sunday, starring Jo Koy. And
Oh
everybody
wow.
that went to his 11 sold out shows at
Yeah.
the Neil Blaisdell Center knows who Jo Koy is. Uh, Very funny, uh, great guy, Filipino and German, I believe he is. And it's about the crazy, wacky, dysfunctional family that he goes back to for Easter to visit with the family, and chaos and mayhem ensue. And of course, there's comic cameos and vignettes through it. So it's going to be a lot of fun for the whole family. So I think that's why they waited till August to put it out, even though it's called Easter Sunday.
Uh-huh.
They want, grandma and grandpa and the parents and the kids to go and enjoy this because it's a wacky, and it's hopefully it's going to be like big fat Greek wedding with Filipinos. You know what I mean? That's what I think it's going to be like. And it comes out August 5th, Universal Pictures, and also Ride Back, Dan Lin, who did the Lego movie and It movies. And so great production team and great studio. So I'm looking forward for it coming out.
Wow. And you're done shooting?
Yeah. We shot it up in Canada
Cool.
a year ago now.
Wow.
But, you have to hold it off because it was still in COVID. So
Yeah. And as far as music goes, do you have anything going on or coming up with that?
Oh, Daniel Ho and Uncle George Kahumoku Jr. and I are going to go and do like a mini tour September and October. So that's August for the movie, September,
Wow.
October, doing some Hawaiian music again.
Holy smokes. You're going to be so busy during that time of year.
Yeah. And then I got to go Big Island in October for my auntie's birthday. So.
Wow. Okay. And
So if you want to do your movie, let's do it in October when I go visit my auntie.
Yeah. We'll go have
End
some
of
vegan
October.
burgers at your sister's food truck.
There you go. There we go.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, is there any way people can stay connected with you, if those who want to follow in social media, or if do you have
I'm
like
at
a
Tia
website?
Carrere with the check mark on Instagram and on Facebook and on Twitter. And my website is tiacarrere.com. And I have these awesome t-shirts that I made with this
Oh, no
really
way.
cool tribal bolt design. I love it so
Wow.
much. Yeah, so you check it out on my Instagram or on my tiacarrere.com. But this on like a tank top for girls or a regular t-shirt for guys, and it's like thin and light and beautiful fabric. I just love it. I could wear it every day.
What was the inspiration behind this particular design and this project?
It was during the pandemic. I was like, oh man, thinking about my my password when I was a kid for my what's American Savings Bank or something like that was Bolt, BOLT. I don't use it anymore. That's why I'm telling you my secret password.
Yeah.
But and I was like, oh, Bolt, like, women surfing Bolt, kind of stuff. But I want it like, hip and like Hawaiian wear. I love like Hawaiian wear that's not kitschy or cutesy. I want it kind of be sexy and rock and roll and tattoo. You know what I mean? So that's why I came up with this, and I just like sketched it on a piece of paper, and then I had somebody. Yeah, well, this is not a sketch. This is like printed, but I did a sketch on paper with a ruler and stuff, and tried to figure out like what different things mean, like the Hawaiian fish hook, and then like the palm, when it's woven together. Yeah, all these different things.
Wow, man. Well,
just
you
being
obviously
creative. I just love being creative.
Well, you definitely are an inspiration to myself and to all of our listeners. I know I speak for all of them that we're so appreciative for not only you taking the time to be a part of our special 200th episode, but just representing, us as far as Asian Americans and Hawaii. You've just been such a light for all of us to look up to, and we really appreciate all of the hard work that you've put into your career and sharing your wisdom and experience with us here today. It's just been an absolute pleasure, and I'm excited to see what all the new things coming up and at the end of this year. So looking forward to supporting you there.
Thank you very much. Well, I appreciate the time, and I appreciate you involving me in your 200th episode. That's epic. That's so great. I mean, that's a lot of pushing the boulder up the mountain. You know what I mean? Good for you. I wish the Chinese restaurant was still around so I could go eat there, but oh well.
Oh, I wish it was there too, but don't worry. We'll have our karaoke party in Kalihi instead.
All right, manifest. Let's make that indie movie happen.
Yeah.
By the people, of the people, and for the people.
Yes.
Indie movie in Hawaii.
Love it. All right.
It actually represents us. We're not the background for other people's stories.
Yeah. Front and center.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Tia.
All right. Aloha.